back. This is Boomer Life on CL 650.
You got to know when to hold up, know when to fold up, know when to walk away, and know when to run.
And we're back. This is Boomer Life on CL 650. I'm Joanne Sutton, joined today by Jim Doyle, Senior Financial Consultant with Investors Group. And on Boomer Life today, we're talking about your financial future. And specifically, today's show asks the question, when it comes to financial planning, is it really different for women? And we've had a few answers to that question so far over the course of the show. Now, before the break, Jim, we were talking about the issues, some of the issues that couples face when they actually lose a partner. And I really like the idea of you being there for the long haul for your clients who find themselves suddenly single who are widows. Not just for their investment matters, you're there for the whole picture. And I think it highlights an important choice that you could choose to work with an advisor who looks after the investments, or you could choose to work with someone who also understands the non-financial side of things.
You know, I think there's a lot to take a look at here. It's not just money, it's relationships, it's family, it's expectations. There's a lot of pieces that need a little bit of looking at here. When we talk about couples losing a partner, you know, it can be an emotional space, and that's not a great place for people to be making decisions in. I think at a time like this, you know, everybody can use a little bit of help making sense of choices, income options, tax or estate issues, and like you said, it's really about a whole picture perspective.
I'm not sure how many of us actually look too much beyond investment performance and risk management with our advisors, but it turns out there's so much more help available if we simply ask. It's clear that you take the time to listen and try to understand the whole story before exploring options and outcomes, including the impact of choices made today. And here's the really important part: consequences in the future. And this could affect family business owners.
This can be a big issue when we talk about inheriting, say, a property or a business. For some families, it means unintended tax consequences without sufficient time to plan for it. Or it can create animosity as one of the siblings is forced to buy out another sibling's interest in either property or business. And getting financing, that can represent a hardship.
So it sounds like what we're talking about comes down to basically good planning and good tax and estate planning. But when it comes to family business, it's often there's not just one family involved. It could involve partners or other family members or extended family.
You know, we hear from a lot of families telling us that they want to be fair and avoid conflict when it comes to succession planning around the family business. Unfortunately, many never really anticipate problems or see the need for flexibility in the future. Often, well-intentioned parents have never spoken to their kids about their estate planning wishes or their kids' wishes, and it's the kids who are left to kind of sort it out. Without better planning, this could be a real mess.
Not to focus too much on my situation, but my father did run his own business, and I can actually remember a few of these issues when he had a completely different vision than us 5 kids did.
Yes, incredibly common. It's difficult for families to talk about money, and it's equally difficult for families to talk about family businesses. Parents can be expert procrastinators when it comes to getting their estate planning documents in order, and they're even worse communicating their wishes to those that they'll leave behind. We've seen the chaos that this creates and the resulting infighting and resentment, and often the business can be a casualty of the process.
So, Jim, I know you have a lot of experience dealing with family business. Could you offer some thoughts for our listeners today who are involved with a family-run business? What advice can you give them?
Absolutely. First, talk to your family to clarify the hopes and the expectations. It can include the eventual sale or succession plan and estate planning wishes. And if this isn't easy for you or you don't know where to start, call me and I'd be happy to offer a few ideas on how you can help facilitate this family discussion.
So can that be just as simple as sitting down with the family and saying, this is what I want, like when I die or when I leave the family business, I want you kids to look at, take it over? Is it as simple as that?
It starts from there, okay? And that's the key. You need to start a process, to start a discussion.
Okay.
You know, for many family owners, the parents, the majority of their wealth is tied up in their business. And when it comes to unlocking that value, planning needs to start early. When the family is not aligned or no communication strategy exists for staff, customers, or suppliers, then obtaining the best value for the business could be a problem. If kids are going to be taking over the business without adequate planning, strife can ensue when we talk about the plans for the family business. And it's not uncommon that we have competing agendas, depending on whether you're talking to the parents or their kids. Mom and dad might want to harvest from the business and pay for their retirement, and the kids might want to use the business resources to grow their business. Certainly sets the stage for some conflict, and you never know where it's going to come from.
I like the way that you use the term harvest. That's basically the family business owner saying, I'm going to retire and I'm going to have this lifestyle, and I expect that you're now going to run the company to help pay for my lifestyle. Right? Does that paint you a picture?
That sounds about it. Exactly.
Well, as you've mentioned before, a lot of families aren't great at communicating around sensitive family dynamics. It is a hard conversation to have, especially when money and emotions are involved. It's a reality for most of us that we worry about money. It might be a good question to ask whether or not the worry surrounding our investing habits is actually misplaced, and why do we let worry about money drive so much of our thinking and decision making?
In my experience, it comes from trying to control things outside our control. For instance, we worry about whether we'll have enough to retire or help the kids out.
We probably feel that we're trying to do everything we can, yet perhaps the one thing we're not doing is working with an advisor.
Find the right person who's going to take an interest in what you're doing and why. Interview a couple of advisors. Get a sense of how they work, how they help you make decisions, what their communication and contact strategies look like or are going to look like, and find somebody who focuses on the things that keep you up at night.
I think one of the biggest obstacles is that we don't have the knowledge that we want to make the decisions that we need to make.
The problem isn't finding solutions. You can go to the internet and find solutions. The difficulty comes from having the knowledge to implement the right strategies and applying them across several interrelated issues. Another key element: understanding how we make our financial decisions, and equally important, the factors that weigh on our decisions, the why we make our investment choices that we do, and what keeps us from addressing decisions that we need to make.
So I think what I'm hearing is understanding the hows and the whys of investment decisions people make seem to be almost as important as the actual investment selections that we make. Would it be fair to say that most investors comfortably understand risk and volatility and have safeguards in place?
Joanne, I think the real problem still comes from people not understanding the differences between risk and volatility. One thing I do in my practice is help investors understand risk better, what risk is and what it means to them and what their options are. I'm absolutely convinced that if people understood risk better, they might have the tools to make better choices.
You know, Jim, as I've been listening to the show today, what I've been hearing is it's important to understand what risks could keep you from accomplishing your goals and what you can do to reduce them. I think we've also heard that while investment selection, investment criteria, and objectives are important, the real work and value comes from exploring the hows and the whys of your money decisions.
You know, Joanne, I couldn't have said it better myself. Typically, a financial plan looks at things like cash flow planning, the different types of insurance and risk management tools, retirement and estate planning. Tax planning is also a big part of the equation, and it's not the same type of work your accountant does. Your plan explores strategies essential for meeting your financial goals.
So today's subject has been a pretty interesting one. I really appreciate how you addressed the idea that when it comes to investing, it really is different for women. And when it comes to becoming money smart, where would you suggest that we start?
First thing I want to say, it's never too late to start. Don't be embarrassed. Ask for help. Ask lots of questions. Regaining financial independence means taking charge of your financial future. If you want things to be different, it can be as simple as a phone call to get started.
Well, I think our listeners have come to appreciate the fact that you value the trust people put in you and how much hard work you put in as an advisor, asking those tough questions that need to be asked.
I'd like to say thank you for joining us today, and a couple of final messages if I could. Please remember the 3 T's. Time to do the research and anticipate tax consequences. Technique, knowing what you're doing with knowledge, and of course, temperament. emotional control.
You're listening to Boomer Life on CL 650. I'm Joanne Sutton. Today we've been speaking with Jim Doyle, Senior Financial Consultant with Investors Group, and we've been speaking about helping people redefine what financial advice means to regain confidence in their financial futures. Jim, thanks for joining us today. And I know you've said, and you keep telling us, it can be as simple as starting with a phone call. So to find out how Jim Doyle might be able to help you improve your financial situation, here's his phone number, 604-682-5431. Or please visit the website, jimdoyle.ca. I'm Joanne Sutton. Thanks for joining us today on Boomer Life, talking about women and money here on CL 650.